The NBA never sleeps. Always got something to talk about drama-wise while we are in the off season, waiting for a new season of NBA actual action to happen. What we'll talk about a bit is the Chet Holmgren injury and what that means for OKC going forward. There was some Kevin Durant added drama to the drama, kind of maybe an ending to the drama, but we can debate that. That'll be in a second here. But we wanted to warm up with our NBA version of Wordle and another little game that we played with our significant others. So Kevin, which one would you like to start with? The game we played with our significant others or the NBA Wordle?
No, I feel like we got to start with that because that was buzzing on NBA Twitter. So I forget who started it, and it was Dragonfly Jones. So Dragonfly Jones, who's tweets about the NBA and plenty of other stuff all the time, was talking about NBA superstars and who is household names and how a lot of times if you're really super NBA fans, like I would say that we are, people that listen to this podcast probably are, that we maybe take for granted how well known they are by average people. So that I said that was perfect for us because Justin's wife, Nicole, and my girlfriend, Amber, do not watch a minute of the NBA. Like not a single minute. I don't think there's ever a scenario where I would see them willingly turning basketball on. Regardless of us, there's never even a moment where I'm like, oh, they'd stumble on that TV and go, maybe that game's close. So, no, it would get fully passed on to something else. In Amber's case, she'll probably watch Infinity War for the millionth time. I don't know what Nicole's would be, but
Nicole's what's she been watching? Like Zoe 101. She's been watching a lot of that recently.
That was not what I expected. I'm not gonna lie. What is that streaming on?
Paramount Plus.
Okay. The more you know.
If you want to go watch it. The only reason she went back to watch it is I guess the kid that plays Elvis in the new Elvis movie, the Vegas movie. Apparently he was a character in like the last 2 seasons of Zoe 101, so she started watching it again because that's how that works.
Hey, there we go. Again, I learned something tonight.
That's what I'm saying. So all right. So then I guess I'll start with what Nicole sent me in the top 5.
Okay.
Okay.
And these are active and legendary players, by the way. I guess maybe I should have started with just saying active, but she'd already started rattling a couple off, and I didn't want to stop.
I just said, what are the first 5 NBA players you think of? Send them to me. She goes, Michael Jordan. I think everybody is going to have that on their list somewhere. LeBron James. Again, great. Scottie Pippen, which I was kind of surprised about.
I get it though. It makes sense. Last Dance, those 90s Bulls are way bigger than hoops.
And she really liked that documentary, surprisingly. So
dude, non-basketball people like that documentary. Like shout out to my old roommate, Gene Wexler. He would watch basketball with me, but he was by no means a big NBA guy.
Right.
He lived with me because his favorite Warriors player was Sean Livingston by the end of living with me. But no, he was fully locked into Last Dance with me. Like we had a night basically out of it. Like that was a Sunday night appointment for us.
Yeah. So so 3 were Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Scottie Pippen, Kobe.
Okay.
Again, I'm not surprised about that. And then she goes JJ Redick.
Well,
and I was like, LOL at JJ. And then she goes, well, I would have said Chris Humphries, but JJ came first.
Oh, she should have said Chris Humphries. That would have been funny.
Chris Humphries because of the Kardashians, I guarantee.
Of course. No, 100% no. Justin, I promise he does not know Chris Humphries for his pretty decent rebounding ability there for a couple seasons. No, JJ Redick is interesting. I mean, JJ was so widely beloved or hated in college. And so I think that is carried over. Obviously the Sixers too, in your case.
And the reason is Nicole's family, her brother loved JJ Redick, like had a Duke jersey of JJ Redick. So I knew JJ Redick was probably going to be on that list somewhere.
Well, they're all from North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Grew up in North Carolina. Yes.
Okay. So that's what I mean. That checks. That completely makes sense. So for Amber, she went LeBron first. Maybe controversy. Michael Jordan second, Kobe third. So we're overlapping so far. Yeah. This one surprised me. Kevin Durant 4. So there you go, Kevin. Because Kevin Durant's obviously
he's been in the news a lot.
Yeah, but like Steph just won the finals
Yeah.
recently. Giannis is the Greek freak and is
But
like the best
again
player
but
now. I
again,
know, I
those
know.
those players aren't getting talked about in the non-NBA circles like that as much. You know what
I
I
would think
mean?
Steph is at that point or should be. I don't Giannis is will be there soon. I don't think maybe he's not
The
there
thing
yet.
is the thing is from bridging out of basketball. Like Steph does stuff, his wife, like they do stuff outside of basketball. So I can get behind that. I'm trying to think if Kevin Durant does stuff from a non-NBA player or watcher perspective, something
Twitter?
that would yeah, probably Twitter.
I mean,
Honestly,
listen.
probably Twitter. And then but then you look at Adetokounmpo, like does he do something again, I know there's going to be like charitable organizations and stuff, but I mean from like an entertainment talk about standpoint, does he do something outside of basketball to be talked about from non-basketball people? I don't
But
know.
outside of Greece, probably not, honestly.
Yeah,
And I think that's the thing is you're right. He's not at that level of pop culture yet.
right.
I don't. Well, we'll see about Katie. Let us know what you think about that. Honestly, tweet us. Let us know what you think about Katie in terms of that regard. And last was Joel Embiid. Spelled it only with one eye, so we're working on it. Got to
Oof,
get that second one in there too.
okay.
But she caveated that with only because I talk about him, which feels fitting and on
That's
brand.
fair. I think Nicole actually feel like she said that at one point too. Oh,
Yeah. Wait a minute, Joel.
she goes, my you'll like this then. My next after those would be James Harden since you talk about him all the time. And that one Joel Embiid guy with one eye. So
Oh man.
oh, that's funny.
At least they pronounce it right.
Yeah, they got Joel Embiid and
I
James Harden. I mean,
listen.
I'm
Lord knows I
surprised.
certain
I'm surprised she didn't say Maxi because I've talked about him a
and
lot recently.
Maxie's our new son as Sixers
Yeah,
fans. Like he's our he's the new shiny token of our affection on the Sixers. Embiid's been there for a while.
yeah.
Once he was playing at least. I think that's what people don't forget. When this podcast started, those were a long 2 years. That was a lot of what ifs and maybes, and
Well,
I mean that's what's made it remarkable. Honestly, is that
and
he
that's
has knock on wood.
and that's why I think a lot of comparisons. Again, this will be later on the episode. That a lot of comparisons I think we'll talk about with the Chet Holmgren injury and stuff like that. Like that could possibly come up when we get into it a little bit. I mean, there are the Sixers in that process rebuilding stage went through a lot of rookie first season
Yeah.
ending injuries.
I so I love how Woj tweeted that, and he was like, Chet Holmgren joins the rookies who are major rookies that missed their first season, and it was like Blake Griffin, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid, and I'm like, of course, two of the three of them are Sixers. Like they would only be Sixers and no other team. But
I
oh well,
know.
we're not here. We're not here to talk about that. I promise. Let's jump into some Pirtle.
Okay.
Look, if we get it on the first guest this time, then we got to just maybe retire it. I don't know what else to do. I'm very confident we will not get this one on the first time, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know right off the rip. I'm not sure. This is the silhouette, if you will. For those that are not watching and listening, we'll do our best to give you the play by play. Looks like this person has shorter hair. You can't see
Very
anything behind.
generic, not gonna lie.
Right. You can't really. I mean,
Which is good for the sake of this.
yeah,
This is good.
yeah. I know we went Bam the very first time we did this. I'm leaning Heat again.
Oh, you want to go Heat again? See, it's interesting. I don't know where I'm at right now, but I think I was at Lou Williams, and I don't know how I got there, but I think
Well,
that's my
let's
guess.
go with Lou.
Oh, well, you just okay, all right.
I'm about it. Let's go, Lou. Okay. Well,
Oh,
we're
all
already off
right.
to a
Okay,
roaring
not
start.
bad. All right, great.
Eastern Conference is correct. The position of guard was correct, and this person is 6'2", younger than 35. That was probably a mistake on our end to go Lou. He's so old. No offense to Lou. Sorry, don't hate me. His number is higher than 6. But we got the
I thought he was
division.
older than 35 on the low.
We got the division wrong.
No, but that's good though. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, the jersey number obviously doesn't help much.
Well, but now we
all
got
right,
it
so
down.
it's
We
in the
know it's a
East,
guard in the East, but not
right?
in the Hawks division.
Well, so it's at the Southeast, so that knocks out Miami, that knocks out Charlotte, that knocks out Orlando, that knocks out Washington. So, I mean, really, we have two divisions left. It's the Atlantic or the Central. So you got 10 teams that it could be.
Mhm.
I'm not going to rattle them all off, but and we know it's a guard. So
Does it
realistically,
show us
if
the
we're
silhouette again? Okay. Drew
I don't think
Holiday.
the silhouette is going to be very helpful here.
You don't think?
No, but if you want to guess Drew Holiday, go for it.
I'm thinking Drew Holiday. Like, how old is he? He's not 35.
I think he's a little bit younger. Yeah, because Drew Holiday was like 18 when he came to the league. He's had a lot of seasons, but he's really young.
All right, well, let's try Drew. Okay. Oh, he's taller. Okay. I
Okay,
didn't
oh,
realize
so
that. He's 6'3". And
he's
so this
32.
person is younger than 32. Okay, so a central and guard was correct. No, oh, I should have known that number. Oh no, okay. So in between
Oh
6
no,
and
that's a good
21.
range. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
6 and 21 is a good range. I
and
mean,
it's
more
not that
importantly,
division that really
yes,
helps.
you knocked the Central out. That's the most important thing. So we're down to 5 teams at this point. You've got the Sixers, you've got
Smart.
Boston, you've got Toronto, you've got Brooklyn, and you've
What
got the
number is
Knicks.
Marcus Smart?
Marcus Smart is, oh my God, why am I blanking? Marcus Smart is 13, right?
It might be Marcus Smart.
I didn't think the hair was wild enough to be
No.
Marcus
Yeah,
Smart.
it doesn't look like Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart is 36. Never mind. I'm a clown. Why am I thinking he's 13?
Oh boy. The
All right, so
problem
it's
is
under
too is
21.
I I feel like I don't know any of the Knicks point guards.
I don't. So I have, because I can see this being the head shape with the headband.
Okay.
And that's Derek White, but
I don't
I don't feel good about that.
know because I feel like you can't see like I feel like we'd see the headband on the side, like above the ears in the
You think it's
silhouette.
you think it's a Knicks guard? I can see it. Who would it be? You think it's
I don't
Quickly?
know. I'm going. I mean, could it be a? It's not a Sixers. I feel like it's not a Sixers point
No, I
guard,
don't.
right?
I mean, it's not Maxi. Maxi's got dreads. You'd be able to tell.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Shake. I don't think. Well, Shake could be with a number that would actually work. I'm trying to think who else's number would work. It's higher than 6, so actually it can't be Quickly.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm feeling like it's a Knicks guard. But that doesn't help me because I feel like I don't know anything about the Knicks guards.
I mean, who did they play a lot last year?
That's what I'm trying to think. Guards.
I mean, I don't think it's RJ Barrett.
No.
I guess it could. Well, it could be RJ Barrett.
You think? Well, but
Hang on.
oh, I guess it's just you're right. It's just guard. It's not telling of his yeah.
Well,
what guard
no.
or
Well,
shooter.
I guess he's more of a forward. Yeah. You know what? I don't want to say that. I would say it's not Evan Fournier. Man,
Yeah, that maybe it's. I mean, I'm looking. I just
Obi.
pulled.
There's nobody else that would be guard wise. I don't because I mean they have Derrick Rose. I don't think it's Derrick Rose. It's
No,
not
it's not Derrick
Quickly.
Rose. Derrick Rose is older. 35. Is he
Derrick
older?
Rose is. No. Derrick
No,
Rose
he's
is
33.
33.
Okay, he's 33.
Yeah, because it's higher than 6. Quickly's 5, so that knocks him out. I mean, if RJ, dude, if RJ Barrett's classified as a guard, and I bet he might be off this actually, it
You
could be
want to try
RJ
it?
Barrett.
Let's try
Yeah, let's
RJ.
try RJ Barrett.
RJ Barrett. Let's
I would
see. As
initially
our
think he's a
third.
forward, but I can see that. I can see them clocking him as a guard.
Okay, we're not right. Okay, yeah, they did put him
Okay,
in as
so he
our
does have
forward guard.
forward
Yeah,
guard. Okay.
but we got it. I mean, we knew the division. We're already there.
Yeah,
And we
didn't
should
roll
have
that.
known that he's taller than 6'2". This guy's
Oh,
6'2",
yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. That was a
but
bad decision.
higher number than 9, so that
I
gets
don't
us a
think
little
there's.
closer.
I don't think there's anybody else on the Knicks that I would like here.
No, I've moved. So Nets maybe. It's not Kyrie. Oh, could it be Kyrie?
No, I don't think it's Kyrie.
Dude, I think it's Kyrie. That silhouette looks like
All right,
Kyrie.
you know what? Guess it. You haven't really guessed anybody. Guess it. Take the lead.
I feel like this is Kyrie.
Yeah. All right. Good job, Justin. Good job. All right.
Once we said Kyrie, I was like, that silhouette kind of looks like Kyrie a little bit.
It was weird. I didn't think it did in a way. I thought Kyrie's hair would be a little just out more, but no. Good call, man. Good call.
We got him. Yeah, he is 6'2" for those wondering. He is 30, so he's under the age of 35 and 32. His number was 11, which was higher than 9, lower than 21. We got him.
All
there
right.
it is.
Good job. No, take your credit, bro. That was all you.
That was a good one.
I was running through Toronto in my head right now.
Dude,
yeah.
we had it pretty pinned down pretty much from the rip with Lou Will, though. Like
Lou Will was a
having the
good. Well, yeah,
6-2 and the guard and knowing it's the East, like we're rolling, you know?
yeah. If you get the conference, well, if you get the conference right off rip, and then you don't get the division, you only have two more options. So you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Also, once you have those two, you can kind of work your way down. It's just how well do you know the division? But
Got it in
all right.
4
So
guesses.
who we had so far? Pretty nobody 2-2 hitting so far. We played this 3 times now. You got Brooke Lopez, you got Al Horford, and you got Kyrie Irving. So those are all pretty
Decent
known
decent
NBA players.
stars. Yeah, they're decently notable players. Like, it's not anybody that's gonna be like a 15th man on a
No,
roster,
that's
you
what I
know?
mean. We're not super in the woods right now. I mean,
Right.
look, we're gonna be there eventually. There's only so many NBA players.
Gotta
So
be, right? Oh, my hair is being all
I mean, yeah. Unless last year with the COVID is, are you really complaining about your hair, right, Justin? You have like the best hair of anybody on a podcast ever. You're complaining about that right
Do
now.
you saw it? I had a whole stray going on right there, man. It was messy.
Welcome everybody to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rayfuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Kuzart.
I've been sleep on Caesar salad for 22 years.
Listen, man, you were, because Caesar salads are great. I don't know what happened there. 22. Well, all right. So should we play Pirtle with the ages? Who's 22 years
Yeah,
old?
should we
Let's stay with the Knicks
played
fan. How
at
about Emmanuel quickly?
no, played at Duke, is 22 years old, is a
Oh,
point
is it
guard.
Paulo?
No.
I guess Paulo's not
According to what is this? Google. He is on the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, so not Cam Reddish. I guess Cam
No.
Reddish is a forward. Duke guard on the Spurs.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully believe that he's on the Spurs, but that's what it says. No, it must be him.
No, who is it?
Trey Jones.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to be honest. Like, if there's a roster that I probably know the least about in the NBA right now, it's the current version of the Spurs.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt.
Although, honestly, I don't know, man. When we were playing Pirtle, I really was convinced I didn't know anything about the Knicks roster.
Oh, see, I know all about the Knicks roster. I feel good about that. I can name most rosters. I feel like I reasonably could do 15 for.
Yeah.
If you held a gun to my head, I don't think I could do OKC right now. I don't think I could do San Antonio right now.
Yeah.
Especially last year the rosters were harder too because you had everybody with COVID in and out. So I mean the rosters were also expanded more than they've ever been. That's just me being honest a little bit, I guess. Like, you know, those are teams that I don't watch as much, especially the bench guys at that point. But we'll talk about League Pass rankings as we get closer to the season. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us.
Yep, and we are looking for subscriber number 49 on the YouTube. If you would like to be subscriber 39 and watch our video versions of the podcast with a little bit of graphics while we're doing like the Pirtle stuff like that, you can always catch it. Just search Drive and Dish NBA on YouTube and you can find us.
Yeah, I mean 49 kind of stinks number wise, but hey,
Yeah.
look, it's still pretty cool though. And you're almost to 50. And now a word from our sponsors.
So we are catching up a little bit on the Kevin Durant saga, which was kind of a full circle of everyone puffing up their chest at this point, it feels like, because nothing actually happened. The latest is Durant and the Nets have decided they're going to make it work now. And Charles Barkley has had some comments on that too, so we can get into those comments in a second. But what do you make of, I guess, everybody's cool now with this?
It's awkward. I mean, I guess they all had to sit down with it for sure. Because if the reports are true, then Kevin Durant was actively trying to get Sean Marks and Steve Nash fired. And it's like, hey guys, let's kumbaya and go back to work the next day here. I think realistically, I mean, there are two things to come into this. Number one, I think when Rudy Gobert got traded, that it ruined the market for everybody. And it set it so far off its axis that it made a Durant deal almost impossible at that point. And I think realistically, once the bigger suitors, because Kevin Durant, especially an under contract Kevin Durant, was always going to claim a king's ransom no matter what. I think once the top suitors, the teams who realistically could get it done, the Bostons, the Memphises, to a lesser degree, the Sixers, the Miami Heat, the Phoenix Suns, teams like that, when they basically decided that they weren't going to move their war chest to make Kevin Durant happen, there just wasn't anything else there. Like,
Yeah.
Brooklyn is not going to trade Kevin Durant for anything less than what he's worth. I mean, I think they made that as clear as possible. And I think with Durant, you had to take the question of, well, do you want to Ben Simmons the situation? Like, you could, and you could just really be just an absolute asshole and not show up to your job and make
And
it
I
weird
saw
for everybody. And some people can do that. Kevin Durant's also a little bit older, though, and I think recognizes the situation in front of him, which, hey, the roster here in Brooklyn's still pretty good. Kyrie Irving's opting back in. Go win a championship this year, which is a possibility. I would think that Brooklyn's a contender. I would have them still in that category in the Eastern Conference. And if KD goes out and they win a title this year, you would imagine Brooklyn is much more willing to facilitate a deal afterwards as well. So I think that could be a win. I mean, obviously, it'd be huge for Durant all around if they win the title regardless. But yeah, I would think Brooklyn would be much more agreeable to making something happen, maybe for something a little less than they would expect if KD delivers them a title next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's super awkward, but everybody can be professional about it and just move on. And here we are, we're rolling. I saw a tweet kind of to your comment of him Ben Simmonsing the situation, and it pretty much was talking about how Kevin Durant doesn't have that in him in a complimentary way. Like he can't. He wants to play so badly, he wants to win so badly that pulling that or doing that isn't necessarily an option for him. Um, so we'll see what happens. I mean, it does make me feel like now going into this, if they stumble out the gates, we're going to have a problem pretty quickly, you know?
100%. And it's going to be, I think this all could have been handled better for sure, without a doubt. I think KD could have gone to the front office after last year and said, yo, that was a
What's up?
mess. It
Yeah.
was toxic all year. We need to figure it out because, like, I'm here to win. We entered this long term relationship with the intention of contending every single year. That's something that a player of Kevin Durant's caliber and of somebody that's his age now is always
Yeah.
going to want to do.
Yeah.
I think this could have obviously been played a lot less out in the media because I always think that this was on the table. Even when KD asked out, I think there were a lot of people who realistically predicted, like, hey, he could very well end up back in Brooklyn. Like, that's not a
Yeah.
bad situation. And I think organizationally, Brooklyn was certainly operating that way. I mean, when you look at their offseason moves, they all make a lot more sense. Like, going to get a Royce O'Neal, for example, like that makes sense if you're trying to win a title. If you're trying to trade Kevin Durant and start over, that doesn't really make any sense at all. And so, yeah, I think the coaching front for sure is going to be awkward. And I think Steve Nash's seat is hot. I think for what it's worth, it was going to be hot no matter what. There was always kind of that gamble where, yeah, this is Steve Nash's first NBA head coaching job. Nothing like the pressure packed experience of coaching Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James
Yeah.
Harden initially right away.
Right.
Like, it is a little bit tough of a learning curve, and I did worry about that genuinely. I can understand Kevin Durant's hesitation there, even with Steve Nash being a bona fide NBA legend. Um, they have a chance to run it back in Brooklyn this year. Kyrie's here for one more year, and then after that, too, you could radically kind of reshape this roster if you want to, depending what KD wants to do, how Kyrie plays out this year. But I do think you have to look at this with, hey, if you're Kevin Durant, I get that this was weird. I get it's awkward, but we all could win a title this year if we can make this work. So let's all just, things happen. I will go back to the precedent will always be that I remember when Kobe Bryant demanded out from the Lakers way back in like '05, and it looked like a deal to the Clippers was done. There were other teams in the table. It looked like that was irreparable. And then all of a sudden it became reparable. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if everyone checks their ego, goes into work, and tries to win a title for Brooklyn the way the statement from the organization said it was, then they do. They have a chance to do something special this year. And I can understand why Kevin Durant would want to stay there. Like, there aren't many better situations right now unless it was somebody that was going to pull the trigger like that. Like, if it was Boston or Memphis, it would have made a lot of sense, genuinely. I think that it would have made sense for every party involved. I also get to that same token for both of those franchises, especially Boston, who just made the finals and may very well arguably be better with some of the additions that they made this past offseason, could want to hold their ships a little bit and run it back. Like, there's nothing wrong with
Well,
that either.
and to that, I think there's a level of if you're Boston and you know you're the suitor, but you're kind of feeling out everybody else and realizing that others are starting to back off and not be involved in those trade talks, then why are you raising, offering all this? You start lowering
Right.
the amount you're offering. And then, if you're like, well, the next best offer is coming from, if it's the Sixers, if it's Phoenix, if it's whoever, it's like, look, they're not even close to what we're offering you. So we're lowering our offer now. And then, I could see how that goes. Now I do wonder if there's a little bit of that going on. Like if we get into the season and things aren't going well or whatever, and then maybe there's a trade or something that goes on. I'm sure they're not going to completely ignore those options if things aren't going right for the Nets, or a 76ers, a Phoenix, a Boston comes out slow and they think they need something to do. They'll revisit those trade options,
Yeah, 100%. Like if Brooklyn just falls flat again, and I keep saying it, it's a toxic mess like it was last
Mhm.
year, then I think obviously everything here can be reevaluated. I stand by. I think Brooklyn keeping Sean Marks and playing hardball on that was a good decision. I don't think you should let your organization get bullied like that. It's for someone
Yeah.
especially who's good at their job. Sean Marks is a good GM. It's not like this is some guy who, kind of like Steve Nash, where they're just testing their metal a little bit. Like, no, Sean Marks dug Brooklyn out of one of the worst holes we've seen in modern NBA history. I
Yeah.
don't think you just throw out a GM like that because it's not working a little bit. I think they should run it back again. I think for KD, it is a little bit added pressure on himself now, but that's because of the demand he made in the offseason. Like he kind of, he'll have to welcome that challenge and we will see what they can do. I agree with you too, in the sense that, because you're right. You're only outbidding the best offer on the table. Like you don't have to offer all your best pieces if the second best offer isn't doing the same thing.
Well,
Now,
that's why I kind of look at the Gobert trade a little differently. Like, was there so many people trying to trade for him that's what it got up to? Like, that's where we got on this potential like auction block. Like, I find that kind of hard to believe.
so I think people were trying to trade for him, but I also think Minnesota really, really wanted him in particular and said, yo, we're going to overpay so hard that you can't say no. And
Yeah,
like that does happen. With like sometimes when you
you're not
really
going to
want
have
your
an
guy and you
option,
think that fix is like Minnesota thinks by adding Gobert that that's going to take them over the top and they're going to contend in the Western Conference.
right?
I am not so sure about that. I think they'll definitively be better next year. I don't think what they gave up for Rudy Gobert necessarily fixes all their issues. They'll be better though, so I guess it is hard pressed to say that. Um, but no, I agree in the sense that you're right. I mean, Boston doesn't need to offer Jalen Brown both Williamses and 3 first-round picks if the next best team isn't even in the ballpark. I also think Brooklyn, just give them credit organizationally. They never felt the pressure. They never felt the awkwardness where it's just like, you know what? We're wiping our hands. We're
Let's
getting
just
rid of the
do it.
situation. We're
Yeah,
moving on.
let's just do
We're
it.
going to settle for the fact that we're going to, get pennies on the dollar. They played their game well. They said, yo, Kevin Durant, you're under contract and we're not giving you up for nothing. Like,
Yeah.
you're a top 3 player in the NBA at minimum with an argument for number 1. You don't just give those guys away just because they ask out when they have a contract like that. Again, 1-year deal like Kyrie, different story. When they're locked in, I'm not moving Kevin Durant unless you get the King's ransom. Nobody wanted to pay the King's ransom, apparently. So it's pretty hard to argue with that. All right, who's balling, who's falling? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like to start with the good before the bad. And so I'll start this week balling. We have in terms of this isn't the entertainment factor. I'm low-key stretching. I go to law school for 2 weeks and I'm already stretching words. So for balling, I'm using the Lakers locker room in terms of entertainment because there was a trade that went down officially. Patrick Beverley is
Oh,
going to the Lakers. Talon Horton Tucker and Stanley Johnson are going to the Jazz. Real quick on the Jazz perspective, it's a no-brainer. You take a flyer on THT. We'll just see what he can do. Obviously, they're not trying to win games next year post Gobert. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Donovan Mitchell too on that front. For the Lakers, wow, we got Pat Bev and Russ in the same locker room. Like I know that they're going to be trying to move Russ, but that may have to be functional for a little bit. And that's one of the few NBA beefs that I think where they actually don't like each other. And
yeah.
so for us as outsiders watching the Lakers, it's extremely entertaining. So I am thankful for that entertainment. But
Part
whew,
of me was like thinking this the other day. If you're the Lakers, why not just say, hey, okay, so in the first 20 games of the NBA, let's debut Russ. Like, let him run out there. Let him do, if he can. I know that's a big, I know that's an if now, but if he can get close to those triple doubles that we were seeing, let him ball out and then trade him. Let him ball out, let him be the focal point and then trade him. Let his value go up and get him out.
who are you fooling though? That's the thing. Like, who am I fooling in those
Well,
20
but if
games?
you're a team that doesn't have a point guard and you see Westbrook going out there dropping close to a triple double again, you're like, all right, let's bite. Let's take him in. The Knicks will probably do
I'm
it.
so that was you with the
That
shot
was a
this
dig.
time.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That
Um,
was uncalled for.
I don't. Well, my dig is on the other end. It's like what contender is taking Russell
Yeah.
Westbrook right now? What team that's trying to win games is taking Russell Westbrook right now? And to the counterpoint, if the Lakers had assets to attach to Russ, somebody would take him. Like, I'm not one of those where it's like, oh no, like the contract is closer to coming off the books than it's not at this point. But I don't know who's taking it right now. I mean,
Yeah.
at least not until maybe when the season's halfway over, it's a different story.
Maybe OKC does it to bring him back. I mean, I don't know why you would. You have a young core, so it is what it is.
Well,
but
because at that point, you're just going for nostalgia and just have a vet in the locker room with all your young guys. Try
maybe
to sell
that's
some
what they
tickets
want.
since
And maybe
Chet's
that's
not
what they
gonna play this
want. Yeah,
year.
that's what I mean. Maybe that's what they want. You can bring him in. Chet's not playing.
You think Russ is going to agree to that, though?
Probably. I don't know. Honestly, at this point, I feel like Russ would be happy just getting out of the Lakers.
Well, and so that's the question. It's like, does Russ want to be the showcase guy? Because Russ can go do that on teams. Like, he'll be the showcase guy. He'll be competitive. Like he did it with the Wizards a couple of years ago. Like they were in the playoffs. They were an 8 seed. They won 2 games against the Sixers, I think, in the first round that year. But like I'm talking about teams that are actively trying to win basketball games in 2022, and then it does. That's so harsh, and I don't want it to be. But again, they don't have the draft picks to attach to them. That's the thing is there's not even that incentive.
Yep. Well, and so it's more comedy gold for us. So I'm excited to see how it unfolds throughout the season. I know there was already videos and stuff going up about Patrick Beverley saying that if he was there, they'd be winning and blah, blah, blah. So,
well, look, the Lakers want more defense. That's what they're basically saying. And then what they've been saying all offseason is that we want to retool the roster around defense. Bringing Pat Beverley in to play defense makes a lot of sense for that.
And he will hold people accountable. Like we've heard that happen a lot in locker rooms that he's in. So
who is Pat Bev holding accountable though in that locker room? And that's the problem. Is like
I could see no. I see Pat Bev getting in people's face if they're not trying. Yeah, I could see him doing it.
You think he's gonna get LeBron's face?
I don't. Maybe not LeBron, but he might get in AD's face.
And that's the question: is LeBron getting AD's face? Because AD may need that. I think AD needs that.
I bet he does get in his face about it. I bet LeBron goes to him and says, "Hey, look, AD needs this. Get in his face."
My boy, it's a prove it season. Let's go.
Like get in him. Get in his face. I would be all about it.
Lakers come back to defense would make sense though. That's what won them the title. They had the best defense in the league when they won the title a few years ago. Like that was the recipe, low key. All right, who's balling for you this week?
My balling is actually still sticking on LeBron. It was a post in Reddit by This Place Stinks, and they posted, "I love how every year for a decade the media or teams dubbed a fairly random player as a, quote, LeBron stopper heading into the playoffs before they got completely dismantled by LeBron. Who are the most egregious examples? Mine would definitely have to be Stanley Johnson. But some other examples.
Stanley Johnson? Oh, well, no, you know what? Okay, that's right. You know what? That was funny, though. So Stanley Johnson was funny because that was a 1-8 matchup when Stanley Johnson was with Detroit. And he looked awesome that series. Like, he genuinely, it was like, yo, he's a guy. Like, Detroit's got one. I was really high on Stanley Johnson. Like, to this day, I'm just, his athletic ability alone, like, the potential was through the roof, and he just hasn't panned out, unfortunately. But no, that's funny. That's actually like, I don't think maybe the stopper was unfair, but like, yo, he's giving LeBron a little bit of a run for his money there. Like that was
we had, you go back and you think about it. I think Anunoby at one point was
no, it was PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker was the first one because the Raptors brought him in to try to stop LeBron, and everyone was this is the guy. This is the guy that's going to stop him.
You know who was the OG LeBron stopper that everyone will go back to and think?
JJ Barea.
Maybe JJ. Lance Stevenson.
JJ Barea actually stopped him. Lance Stevenson didn't stop him, though.
No, but Lance Stevenson had the blowing in the ear. He had all those antics. I feel like most people would think of Lance Stevenson when you say LeBron stopper, even if he actually wasn't. Yeah.
So, okay. So maybe that's the thing. If Lance Stevenson was the first of people that was supposed to stop LeBron and then did not stop LeBron, because even if you want to go before that, a lot of people thought it was Danny Granger on the low. Rudy Gay also weirdly had LeBron's number for a while. Like their head-to-head record was like, go look it up from like 07 to 2010. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have had it. Iguodala had it. I mean, Iguodala won a Finals MVP off it.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker for sure had it for a long time. I mean, in Toronto specifically.
Damari
Um,
Carroll, I remember he got paid
oh
pretty
my
well.
God, that's right. Damari Carroll did get paid off for Atlanta. He was going to be the LeBron stopper in Atlanta. You're
Yep.
right. With the five guys who won the Player of the Month that year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there have been a lot of them, and it's all because off that one meme. That might be the best tweet that the Drive and Dish Twitter account has ever done. Was when we tweeted the PJ Tucker meme where it was like, please
Oh,
stop. And
yeah.
LeBron's just like, no.
Yeah.
And every year they just
It
swap them. They change the color on the jerseys. They
Yep.
change the color. Like, oh man, it's one of those things.
I remember that tweet we did was like by far our best tweet ever, and it just kept rolling. You know what I mean? I'm trying to
Yeah.
think if there was another player that would be on this list, but I don't. I love it. The first comment under this Reddit thing is LeBron stopper. Please stop, LeBron. No, literally what we were just
All right.
describing.
It's always what, because you swap the player, you swap the team, you swap the year. The result was always the same. What was balling about that? Just the overall meme, or
just the overall that we didn't have one last year. We didn't get somebody that was a LeBron stopper last year.
I thought I was betting balling this week. Never mind. I'll send you to law school tomorrow. All right. Next up,
well, it's because for me I have two fallens. That's why.
I also have two fall. Well, they're kind of
Jesus.
So my fallens are a pair of meniscus injuries because we've got two of them.
Same.
Oh, yours the same pair of I should have given you one. We should have done 1 and 1. So I guess here I'll start first.
Wait.
I used to live in Orlando, so I'll take Gary Harris. You talk about Danilo first.
Well, but that's the thing is you can take both because I still have another one after that.
Oh, all right, then that's fine. So Danilo Gallinari tore his ACL playing for Italy. Or not, I'm sorry, I just completely butchered that. He tore his meniscus playing for Italy. He did not tear his ACL. That was the fear at first.
Yeah.
So because his tore his meniscus, he'll come back at this point. Like obviously he's going to be out a couple of months, but he'll play this season. Suiting up for Boston this year. He's one of those offseason additions we talked about earlier in the pod. And then for Orlando, it's Gary Harris, obviously in a much different role, kind of the veteran in the locker room, the guard that they go to, a bit of a defensive minded guy. Gary Harris is not a starter for them by any means. And if anything, their young guys will get more minutes now, but they had just brought him back on a contract. So like he's pretty well respected and beloved in that locker room.
Yeah.
And they counted on him to play some serious minutes last year. So, definitely a blow for both of these squads. But the good news in a way is, again, not ACL related. They're not going to miss the whole season. Like, unfortunately, Chet Holmgren is, as we'll talk about here in a sec.
Yeah, that one's a bummer. I mean, it's one of those things where it was just too, I guess not freak. Well, even the Chet one is like these freak injury type things that were going on. And so you hope everybody gets back. Obviously, we already know Chet won't. But my fallen is actually going to be 4 teams: the Utah Jazz, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Detroit Pistons, and the Orlando Magic. Do you know why those 4 are fallen in a group as one?
So run that again. The Pistons, the Magic. Who are
Pistons,
the other 2?
Magic, Thunder, and the Utah Jazz.
Okay, why are they all? Well, I guess the Pistons and the Magic aren't. I was gonna say they're all trying to lose games next year, but
no, they are the only 4 teams with no ESPN or ABC games televised next year.
So hold on, Orlando, Detroit. Who are the other 2?
OKC and Utah.
How's Detroit not going to get on with Cade? And I can't believe that's the one I'm going to stump for. But
I know, I'm surprised that's the one you went for.
Well, even Utah, you would think Donovan Mitchell alone would get a game, but there's a possibility that he's not there next year. And if he's not there, then it's real bleak, real fast.
It is
OKC
is
borderline unwatchable again. I hate to say it.
Well, you look at these teams, right? And like OKC was 24-58, Detroit Pistons were 23-59, Orlando Magic were 22-60. The Utah Jazz were 49-33 last year. And I know Gobert is gone, but it does look weird that a team that has pretty much had almost 50 wins last year is not going to get a ESPN game. You know?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, in Orlando's case, you got the number 1 overall pick coming in, so you would think they'd want to highlight Paulo.
Yeah.
As much as I hate to be like East biased, because I feel like I've been linking these 2 together a lot recently. Like, I'm more offended if I'm Detroit or Orlando than I am if I'm Utah or OKC. Utah, just given how it's played out. OKC, you maybe could have beef if Chet was healthy. Now with Chet not healthy, it's like kind of dodge going there.
Right. So that kind of leads us. You did your following? That leads us into our
Yeah, the
following.
meniscus.
It
But
leads us
what's the
into
plural? What's the plural of meniscus injury? Menisci injury?
menisci. Menisci.
Menisci? Yeah, doctors tweet us. I'm sure there's a way better answer there.
So
Watch it just be
the
meniscus.
the whole yeah probably is. It's like moose. You don't. It's not meese. You know what I mean?
I can't believe we haven't talked about you like and how close you were to a bear last week, but we'll get back to that a little bit. Let's
Well,
find. We should talk about Chet
I
Holmgren.
was trying to find John Moran. I saw a grizzly. I
You
was
were
like, yo,
close. I'll tell you what. You were.
you understand? Yeah.
We had a
That
concerned listener worried that you were actually going to get eaten.
well, we have video. Maybe I'll tweet out the bear video on social media on my Twitter. We can put it out there. But um, we saw moose, we saw bears, we saw quite literally everything. And I'll tell you what, my knee feels like I played 5 years of basketball on it. So it
Oh,
was
because you
not
were
fun,
hiking.
dude. Yeah, we did 43,000 steps in one day.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah, dude, I'm
Good
not lying.
lord.
What the problem
How long did you
is
hike?
an entire day, a whole
Oh,
day
yeah,
of
that. Like, how
hiking.
many miles did you hike?
Almost 15, I think, 15 or
Oh, okay,
16.
okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. You
Yeah.
put some work in.
Dude,
Good lord.
if anybody's ever been to Jackson Hole, we went to the top of the world is what it's called. And we did one hike and then we did another hike to a bar, had a few drinks, realized altitude was a problem. So we stopped drinking and did another hike. So, it was fun. And then Mark Zuckerberg was there and all the Facebook people for a wedding. So
I mean, rich people do love Jackson Hole. That
Lenny
makes sense.
Lenny Kravitz performed. Serena Williams was apparently there. We didn't see
I
any of
love
them,
Lenny
but
Kravitz on the low. What an underrated artist.
yeah. So, but that's way off topic. So Chet Holmgren injured with a Liz Frank injury to his right foot while playing in a pro am. Apparently, he was defending LeBron James on a fast break. If you've seen the video,
Yeah, he was
it's
playing the crossover. This is Jamal
yeah,
Crawford's pro-am game. It's in Seattle every year. And it kind of stinks that it happened there because I mean that was the big like Seattle was just packed out. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Obviously, you don't got the Sonics anymore. You got somebody like LeBron, his stature showing up there. Chet Holmgren, number 2 overall pick, playing. Like this game was stocked with NBA talent. And it is. It's just it's
It's a
I mean,
bummer.
unfortunate is the word that I can only think about it because this is not even this is a fluke injury. This is nothing, I think initially when people were going, oh, this is what we worried about with Chet
Yeah,
Holmgren. It's like, no,
I was
this
gonna
is
bring
a
that up.
fluke injury. Like, I wouldn't really read too much into this. This has nothing to do with his weight, with his ability. Obviously,
His thinness, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
his general thinness. I mean, yeah, look, an incredible showing in summer league. Obviously made us super excited more to watch OKC this year. It's kind of, you kind of could see the plans start to come together with the other young guys, with Giddy, with Poku, with Lou Dort, with Gilgis Alexander. So like that would what I've been waiting for. I mean, what we've been waiting for is we've been waiting to see OKC start to put it together. They just haven't in really a couple of years now running. And to that point, like it does, it's just, it feels like they're playing for lottery balls once again. And in a couple of seasons now, I mean, really since you traded Russ and Paul George,
Yeah.
it's been like that for a while. And I think it's just, again, OKC, this isn't devastating the way it would be to Orlando or even to Houston, I would say, where it feels like their timelines are a little more rushed, like especially in Orlando. Like they're desperate for competitive basketball in Orlando. OKC, I think most of fan bases is on board with the plan, is on board with the general thinking. Like they're okay being
We're
patient.
chilling.
It's just a little bit of a bummer because like you want to start to get a taste of it a little bit, and now we got to wait a full year.
Yeah, and the guys that we saw a lot of the OKC players do decently in the summer league, so it was kind of like, oh, this would be really cool to see them get together and do that in an NBA season, get a whole season of chemistry together, and so now we got to kind of delay that for a year. You did bring that up. There was some concerns about his physique and how thin he looks in that injury, but we kind of already addressed it, saying it's kind of a freak accident, but I did read that because this was a sanctioned activity by the NBA, he's not in any danger of losing salary or earnings for his rookie year. And I saw that the OKC team has applied for a 4.95 million disabled player exception because of the injury. So, we'll see where that goes. It's one of the most exciting young cores that we had going into next season. That was the reason to watch OKC. and now we kind of have that taken away from us.
So I'll ask you, just because we've been talking about the rookie class a little bit, and my guy Big Van out in Sacramento is gonna talk so much smack if we don't bring up the Kings at some point, and kind of talk about rookie of the year transitions a little bit. Um, obviously with Sacramento, I think there's a lot of hype around Keegan Murray. That it feels like the vibes there are good, that they have a chance to, really be a dark horse and kind of get back into the playoffs this year. Something that I don't entirely disagree with, genuinely. I think they can be in
Sure.
play-in contention, absolutely. You look at, you always go back to, we play the game is who are you going to take out in the Eastern Conference. Like when Chase fired off that nuclear Orlando Magic are going to be the 6th seed take last podcast, like there's no one there. There's maybe one team that I would stretch who made playoffs last year who I would knock out. Where in the West, like there's a couple right off top, like Utah, especially if they trade Donovan Mitchell. The Spurs are actively, I don't think, trying to win games. So yeah, in my next two spots, like of those, you would think the Lakers, the Kings, and the Trailblazers would be the three who are going to take two of those spots. I would think the Kings are going to be in that mix. I think Banchero, given how good he looked at Summer League, and given the marked improvement that I do think Orlando will make this year, is the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. But I'll tell you what, if Keegan Murray gets the Kings into the playoffs, given how obviously notorious and infamous their drought has been, he'll be in consideration. And that's probably like, there's some good money there if on him winning that Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. So you were saying you saw it as like the Lakers, the Kings, and Trailblazers potentially replacing a select few teams in this
Yeah, I
Western
think
Conference.
I could see Utah falling out,
Yeah,
depending,
definitely. I can get
we'll see
behind that.
what it
We'll
looks like
see,
with
but
Donovan Mitchell, but
yeah,
I think Utah drops, and I think the Spurs easily drop. I mean, the Spurs only made it by one game last year, and now they've traded DeJounte Murray. So, yeah, I don't really
yeah.
see them getting in. They're going for the number one pick.
And I feel like the
And,
easy move is say the Lakers get it just because of LeBron and we'll see, but
well, and Dame. I mean,
and
Dame
Dame.
for Portland is
Well,
the other
that's what I
one. Like,
mean. So like I'm trying to justify saying the Kings over the Lakers and or Portland. And I'm having trouble doing it because of Dame and LeBron.
I like that roster. I mean, I'm with you on the Lakers. Like, I think the Lakers, because LeBron wasn't healthy for a lot of last year, too. I'm telling you, man, don't sleep on this Kings roster, though. I think
I know. I just
they're starting to put something together. Like, they have a good mix of vets, and they have, De'Aaron Fox is there. It feels like for the first time in a while, he's not going to be just inundated with backcourt comments and trade rumors. If he's in shape and motivated, I think he could have a big year. They brought in Kevin Herter on the wing. I think that was some good depth. Same with Malik Monk. He could shoot the basketball. Davion Mitchell, kind of the same deal with Halliburton getting traded. You have the backcourt figured out. You can just run Mitchell and Fox. Like, I like the Keegan Murray pick. Harrison Barnes is still there. Obviously, they traded for Sabonis last year. Like,
yeah.
they have guys. If Keegan's good, I think they can do it.
I think depth wise, I prefer them over like a Trailblazers, and you would probably argue the Lakers as well, from a depth perspective. I'm so tainted on the Sacramento
No, it's the
Kings.
Kings. I get it. Like,
Yeah.
it's the hardest sell of all time. They haven't, like, when they haven't made the playoffs in this long, it's pretty hard to sell to anybody. But I'm just,
And I feel
I
like
am more
there's
intrigued in this version of the Kings than I have been intrigued by a Kings team, at least since they probably had Boogie. I mean, well,
yeah,
because I liked I liked De'Aaron Fox at Halliburton. That's the thing, is
yeah.
like when they drafted Davion Mitchell, I think it kind of threw the fit of that off. I would have liked to see that through to its conclusion, but like, whatever. If you want to run it with Mitchell and Fox and Sabonis, and now you got Keegan Murray, like that roster makes sense too.
Yeah. I wouldn't it would be a situation where if the Kings were in the playing tournament next year, I wouldn't be the most surprised. I would be excited about it. Now, if they were higher than that, if they're like a 6 or a 5 seed, then I'm very surprised.
Yeah, I think everyone should be at
Yeah.
that point. I
Yeah.
mean, they're the take is, who is the new Cleveland, I guess, because Cleveland is the one last year where they put it all together. They played competitive basketball, and now obviously they'll have a target on their back. If it was a year before that, I think you would say that it was Memphis. Like, that was Memphis's breakout year. Obviously, they more than met expectations last year, stayed competitive again. I mean, I'm sounding like a broken record. I don't want to keep coming back to it, but I feel like it's going to be Orlando or Detroit. Like, I think those are the two. I'm leaning Detroit because I like Detroit's high end talent better. Like, I think Cade Cunningham is the best
So
player on either of those rosters.
so let's look. Last year the Sacramento Kings had 30 wins. ESPN has it weird, but I think it's 30 wins. Cleveland last year had 44. And you were saying they had that big jump. So you go back to 2020, 2021, and it goes against everything I had just been arguing in the past few episodes. Cleveland had 22 wins. So they essentially added 20 wins to their season. Which I said is hard for a young team to do, and I didn't think it was possible. But here's the Cavs proving me wrong, essentially, jumping up to 44 wins. So, can the Sacramento Kings essentially add to get if they were going to go to a play-in tournament? I mean, at the minimum, they only need 4 more wins. They were in the hunt last year, essentially. So I don't think it's that far out of reach. But could they be in a play-in tournament in a situation where they were a 7 seed at a 46 wins type thing? I think that could also potentially be at play, and that would be a massive improvement. I mean, you're jumping up 16 more wins in the season, and I think there's room to do it because last year the Suns were it was so top heavy. The Suns had 64 wins. You know what I mean? Like that's a very top heavy Western Conference where maybe it's not as runaway in the wins column for the West next year.
I'll ask you this too, because I've seen this going around on Twitter, and I'm going to throw you a fastball real quick, but it's not that difficult, I promise. Who do you think is the favorite in the West next year? If you had to pick one, who's your favorite?
Oh man, I mean, probably the Warriors.
Okay, no, see, that's what I would think. I would also pick the Warriors because I think the Warriors I like what they did to the roster, and I think they're running it back. I think there was a lot of debate because people are going, oh, well, since when did everybody pick the Clippers over the Warriors? Like, Warriors Twitter was real up in arms over that. It feels like, I think
Over
they feel
that?
like they're being disrespected when I'm like, wait a minute. I think everybody kind of thought the Warriors, like, I was under the impression that the consensus was the Warriors, not just as defending champions, but in general with that roster, we're the favorites in the West next year. Like, it's far from a lock, obviously, but
I
I
mean,
thought
to
they were the
me,
favorites.
if I were going to do my top 3 that I was going to say would win next year, Golden State's going to be number 1 because they did it
Yeah.
last year and they're running it back. Phoenix is probably 2, in
I got
my
the Clips at
opinion.
2. I do buy the Clips hype.
And then I'm Clippers after that because I want to see him healthy. But those are my top 3. You know what I mean? And Suns, I'm just doing it because they had 64 wins last year, and I understand they came up short in the playoffs, but they had 64 wins last year.
So flip the Clippers and the Suns for me. I think the Clippers' depth was really good last year, and they're getting 2 superstars on top of it. So it's like they have all the recipe to be good. No, my 4 is Denver. I'm telling you, watch Denver. I'm buying the stock again, Justin. I'm here. Like, look what they did without Jamal Murray. Look what they did without Michael Porter. The roster got better. I think bringing in KCP made a lot of sense. You got Murray back for sure. I think Bones Highland's going to have a really good sophomore year. I'm telling you, Denver can sneak to 3. I don't know if I'm there yet, but like, I don't know if I'm ready to put them over Phoenix, but like,
let's
get spicy.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
So we mentioned the Warriors, we mentioned the Suns, we mentioned the Clippers. You just mentioned the Nuggets. Neither of us mentioned the Grizzlies. And they had 56 wins last year. Why is that?
I don't really have a good particular reason. I think in terms of wins and losses, the biggest one that jumps off the page is the Jaren Jackson injury. I think him missing 3 months is a big loss for them. So I think they'll lose some ground in that regard. But in terms of them, like going forward, and can they win the Western Conference and can they play with anybody? Absolutely. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, Memphis should not think that they're being disrespected. But I think Memphis is in that list of teams that could win the Western Conference. And I think it hard stops there, even with Dallas. Like, I think Dallas just losing, it'd be different if they had Brunson and they had Wood and Dinwiddie. I will say, when Dinwiddie is a high usage rating, I forget what the number is, but Dallas's record goes way, way higher. And so I do think there's something to be said about that, and I'm interested to see how that plays out.
You had the Nuggets as your team to watch, and I agree the Nuggets are a team to watch. But as you were saying that, in my mind, I was thinking Dallas, and that's why I felt bad. I was like, oh my God, we're slighting the number 2 seed from last year, the Grizzlies, and none of us we're not mentioning them right now.
I think the Grizzlies are better than Dallas. I will
Yeah,
say
I would
that.
agree. I would agree. Yeah.
Do you think the
Personally,
Nuggets are better than
personally,
Dallas?
what's that?
You think the Nuggets are better than Dallas?
I I don't.
I
I
do,
think
but
I
I'm
think
super high on Denver. No
I
pun
think
intended.
for me, if I think you said Denver was your 4, I think Memphis is gonna be my number 4.
You could talk Denver into like 2 for me. That's how high I am on
But I
Denver. Like
but, like, it's not outrageous. Like, you saying that is not like, "Oh my god, that's a crazy take." Like, I agree. I think they could also be
Denver's
there.
been stuck in hell of just wasting what if seasons where I think they could have contended because of
Part of
injury,
me
and now it's
yeah.
like we're back, baby.
Yeah, but part of me is worried that we're back, but then by month 2, we're back to what if season, you know?
Jamal Murray wasn't a perennially injured guy though.
I know.
MPJ, it's real.
I
There's
know.
without a doubt, it's real with MPJ. But
I
Jamal
know.
Murray is just coming off the timing of it in the bubble was what's unfortunate. Jamal Murray could have arguably played if they were in the finals. I think there's a chance he plays last year. Obviously, what if? Who cares? But I'm not. I really am not worried about Jamal Murray's injury. I
Do
have. I
you
guess it.
would you put the Grizzlies and the Miami Heat in the same grouping of teams that are that are were in the top of their conferences and top of the league, but are not being considered as the top maybe 2 in each conference to win it again next year?
I think Miami has a stronger quote unquote disrespect case than
Yeah.
Memphis does. You couldn't see my air quotes, but word. No, Memphis, I think Memphis is kind of the national media's darling. I think a lot of people like watching Memphis. I think a lot of people like their cast, which I mean, they should. They're a young, fun team to watch. They play hard every night. Miami, Miami made the conference finals last year. And I feel like
Yeah.
no one, they made the finals 3 years ago. And, I think Jimmy got his flowers for sure. But yeah, we kind of do this dance with the Miami Heat every year where we pick someone other than them, and they're right there. Now, to that token, I think Boston and Milwaukee are both better than Miami. So I'm not picking Miami. I think the path, though, is there for them to win the East for sure, just like it's there for Memphis. But I think Miami, to me, is more. I think they're, if anything, you and I might be lower with Memphis right now than most people are, where I
Yeah.
think we're probably, I think you and I at least give Miami their respect.
I give them the respect, but when I was looking, when we were doing the same thing, like we were talking about our top 3 teams from the West, I started doing that with the East, and Bucks and Celtics kind of popped in my head first, and then I was like, well, with Brooklyn getting KD and Irving are going to run it back, and then this and that, and I'm like, oh right, and the Miami Heat,
It was
like
interesting. Well, it was interesting, I think, too, because it was a weird series where it felt like Boston was the better team than Miami. But Miami almost won. Like
yeah,
Miami's a Jimmy Butler 3-pointer away from maybe winning that series.
yeah,
And I don't think we give them enough credit in that regard. We're with Milwaukee, I think everyone goes, wow, they took Boston to 7 without Chris Middleton. Like, I think Milwaukee, if anything, they feel like they missed a chance to probably repeat last year, or at least face the Warriors and have
yeah.
an all-time matchup. Um, so I get like why I mean, Milwaukee and Boston to me are the favorites in the East right now. Like, I think Boston got better. It's hard to run it back, but like you add Brogdon, you add Gallinari, I think they're a better team. Milwaukee,
And
again,
apparently
they almost won it.
a healthy Tatum. I mean, he came out and said he was playing on an injury last year, which who
Everyone
knows?
is injured in the finals. Like, I don't want to downplay that
Yeah,
because I'm not. I'm not trying to sound salty about that, but like everyone is injured in the
yeah.
finals. Credit to him for playing through it. Like, but
Mhm.
again, I think a lot of these guys are playing through it. Look, Robert Williams tore his meniscus and came back. Like, really, you want to talk about him? Like, that guy could barely move up and down the court.
And he was still one of the best defensive guys on the court there. So
He's good. He's
yeah,
real. I don't think Boston fans know. I think the National is starting to catch on. Like, Smart gets all the attention, and he should. He's guarding the perimeter. Like, guarding the perimeter is one of the hardest things to do in the NBA, especially in today's NBA. But like, listen, Rob Williams is that. They were that defense when he was playing that interior. And again, what he did against Golden State at maybe 80% at best.
hmm
I mean, you say he could barely walk back the court on some possessions. Thank you,
hmm
everybody, for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. I'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
Yep, and check us out on YouTube. The video version is there. We are looking for subscriber number 49. So if you want to be that, head over there, hit the subscribe button, and you can be number 49.